Anyway, thank you for coming. I wanted to talk to you about why we have to hire interns and keep our IT talent in New Zealand. It's a topic I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about doing something about the skill shortage that we all seem to talk about as leaders in tech businesses, and we're not looking at our own homegrown talent that is right here in this country, coming out of university, ready and willing to work. So I want to talk about that. And I want to give you a bit of a story as well at the same time of TechOne International. I'm the CEO of TechOne International, what we do, and our story about interns. Now, I do have to say, at the bottom of my presentation, not really, but in small text, it says, please note, I'm the chair of Summer of Tech, and if I make outrageous plugs for the Summer of Tech program, which I'm likely to do, that's the reason for it, because I think it's an excellent internship program. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is, so Amanda, who am I? So I'm the CEO of TechOne International. TechOne International, who are we? Well, we are a company that makes clocks. We make boring black boxes with some flashing lights. The most exciting bit about our boxes is that they've got an LCD screen on them. What we do is synchronize time. So although they are really boring black boxes, they actually go into really exciting things. So they're in autonomous vehicles, they're in SpaceX spacecrafts, Weta Digital uses them, banks use them. In fact, they're in all sorts of really exciting places. It's just that usually they're in the back room with a rack of a whole load of other equipment, not looking very exciting. So why are we managing as a company? So we're a New Zealand business. We were founded by two gentlemen in the Hutt Valley in 1999, and we sell to 74 countries worldwide. We've just won the Export Gold Award at the Gold Awards last week. And because we make the clocks here in New Zealand, so they're New Zealand made, we use as much New Zealand equipment as we can, stuff it all into those boxes, and literally sell 98% of what we make goes abroad. So really cool company. But why time's important, just quickly, just tell you, just so you know, is synchronizing time. So in an autonomous vehicle, if you know that all of the gadgetry in the car has the right time and is synced in time, if there's a fault, if there's a problem, if there's a crash, the engineers can find out exactly what happened and in what order. We had a picture before of the Hayward substation. That's because Transpower is our first customer, and most of our customers around the world are the transmission authorities. They're transmitting high voltage power lines across whole countries, and if you have an accurate TechOne clock at each end of that, we can work out to within 3 meters where the fault is, so very useful to have time. So that's what we do. We're based in Petone, and why interns are so important to us is because we're a small company, we're about 25 staff, we rely on our own profits to fund our growth. And we grew 30% last year, and we intend to grow 30% this year. Interns is a really great way to grow the team, and it's also been an awesome way for me to get females in the company, because we tend to see, as a hardware manufacturer, almost no CVs coming across our doors as females. And so I see the internship program as a real way to get women in, and we've done that. So the 3 interns that we took on last summer, 2 of them were females, and both females were offered permanent roles with TechOne, and they still work with us today while they're finishing their degrees. And we will take on another 2 or 3 this summer. So we see this as a real way to do it. We're supported by NZTE and Callaghan, and we have had Callaghan funding for the last 4 years for 80% of the cost of our interns. So it's a no-brainer, really, to take them on. All right. So my next slide. This is the team with their TechOne Time Hackers T-shirts. We have a fantastic deck in Petone. We have a beautiful view of the water. We struggle in our markets. We are the most expensive clock manufacturer in the world because we make them here. We don't make them in China. And so we have to compete on the innovation front. We have to be the first to do stuff, and we also have to be ahead of the competition. Our competition are in America and Germany, and they are 100 times the size of us. So we've got that ability of being able to move fast. Now, to be able to move fast, to be innovative, we need young talent. We need young people to think about the new ways of doing things, and we have to keep the talent coming through. And at the same time, we have to run a culture that supports mentoring, etc. So what better way to do it is to support mentoring and the right kind of diverse culture than bringing in students each year to do that. So we took on the 3 interns last summer. We had one for our hardware team, one for our software team, and one for our IT team. This was our first time we've ever brought somebody in to look after our internal IT and do it as an intern. And she is on the picture, but she asked me not to use her name, so I'm not going to use her name. And she joined us to work with us in our IT space. So we already had somebody who was looking after IT and a service provider. And we brought in our intern and said, look, we really want you to help us out. And she did. Now, when you walk into TechOne's offices, the first thing you'll see is a big TV, and it tells you our results. Now, we believe in transparency in TechOne. We believe in everybody understanding where our sales are, what's our sales pipeline look like, where are our sales team, and where are they at with their targets, and how are we doing from a profit perspective. So you can see all of that when you come into a TV. Everyone loves it when they come and visit us. And that TV really needed to be sorted out. The code was a bit of a mess at the background, and it's live data. And so our intern came in and really helped tidy up the code at the back. And she also worked around with all the departments to try and make sure that it was easy for them to keep it up to date, so that the data would be live as people walked in the door. And that's what she started with. She also then took on all sorts of other things. She was mentored by the person who was in the job the whole time, but as she worked through the 3 months of her summer internship, she became less and less mentored by the person and took more of it on. So really, by the end of 3 months, she had pretty much taken on the whole of the IT team, the job, the role, and the budget as well. So we pretty much did not quite expect it to happen so fast, but very quickly, the person in that role was able to move on and do something different. And so we had to offer her a job, and she works for us 17 hours a week while she still does her degree. And she manages that very long, you know what it's like, help desk people? She's the opposite. She's not into telling us to turn off our monitors. She's very much into helping us, very much into looking for things. And she said to me, when you stand up in front of people, tell them that what I really want to do is help the business go faster. So if she can do something to help it work faster, get more information to people, keep us informed, that's what she wants to do, and she feels really great. In fact, I've written a quote, she said, to share with you. She said, "It's nice to work for a company that believes in you, given you're an intern, and I felt reassured the whole time that I could add value to the company while I was there." So she really said that she felt that inclusive in the team, and she felt that she could add value. The other female intern that also now works with us, who's not in that picture, she has also stayed on with us, and she just recently did a presentation to a whole load of students at Victoria University about what it's like to be an intern at TechOne, and about how to go and get an internship. So that was really cool for her to share it on, and she feels that she needs to share that knowledge and experience that she's gained and share that with other students getting through. So what I think we have to do as business owners and business leaders is to really start looking at the talent that we have here in New Zealand, because if they're just going to serve us coffee over summer, they're going to get on a plane and they're going to go and get a job somewhere else, and we'll lose them. And so why I got involved in Summer of Tech was that I want to stop that brain drain. I want to see the talent stay here, and I want to see it stay in our companies. And yes, go and do OEs, but come back to great jobs. And I would like to see more companies do it. So I've got a couple of Summer of Tech slides that I thought would be quite interesting. Oh, sorry, no, this is my summary that says, so really she went from being IT intern to doing our dashboards, coding our BI systems, forecasting. She got involved in the sales of forecasting. We use Salesforce, so really helping us with developing the dashboard for Salesforce. She's done project management, she's done all sorts of things. So I guess what I'm saying is she's really amazing, talented student, and I don't believe we got one off. I think there's a lot more of them at universities, and they're probably serving coffee rather than working in their space they should be in. So Summer of Tech, I'm the chair of the program because I'm so passionate about it. It was started by John Clegg, a friend of mine. We met at MBA in Victoria University, and he had his own software company, and he basically really struggled to find the right skills from the students coming through. So he saw that there was a skill gap between what the universities are teaching and what he needed, and he said and he set up Summer of Code 12 years ago to start to deal with that. And there's now a whole team of people. And so Summer of Tech, what we do is with two things. That during the winter, so while we were all cold today sitting in this room, during the winter time, Summer of Tech runs boot camps with industry people who give up their time to teach the subjects that are not taught at the universities, to fill that gap. Some are introductory courses, some are advanced, so that they get the skills. So we do interviewing skills as well, because that's often not covered by the universities, and really get them ready. And then there's a big dating game night at Westpac Stadium where all the companies come together, all the students come together. We also run that in Auckland, at Auckland University. And there's a sort of a meeting of all of the students. There's an app, so you can choose whether you liked the student you met or didn't. And then they set up interviews for those students to work, have an interview with you so you can choose for them to come and work in the summer. So that's the team. They're an awesome team. So here's some stats, just some quick stats that I've put together just to give you an idea of what we're doing. So over 12 years, we've steadily grown, the program's steadily grown to 214 last year. Now, if I give you a bit of an idea, we had 3,000, well, let me get the real number so you don't think I gave you the wrong information. We had something like 3,687 students register for the program from all universities and tertiary education providers all over New Zealand for the program, and we found 214 of them jobs. Now, if I look at that 3,000 and I talk to the program people, we reckon that each year there's about 600 cream de cream, the top students. They should absolutely get jobs in business. They are not only technically amazing, but they're also amazing can-do attitude. We're still nowhere near getting through that cream. And so I don't know where they're getting jobs. Now, I do know Deloitte, lots of other companies, big names, do have their own internship programs, and I say thank you to all of them, but there's still a lot of interns out there that don't get the work. And so my challenge to you today is to go out and talk about interns and encourage them in, because I think when I talk to companies that do it, we all have had such a benefit from it. So 72 companies took part in the program last year, all over New Zealand, but you can see we're mostly centred in Wellington. And the stat up there that's the most exciting is 80% are retained after summer. So we in TechOne had 3, we retained 2, and 80% is pretty consistent across the years that we've been running Summer of Tech. So that means they go in the summer, they have a summer piece of work to do, and 80% of them will be offered a job at the company. Not because the company feels sorry for them, it's because they did a really, really good job. And they were really good students, and they're through it. And so there's a company called Soda here. I don't know if anyone in the audience is from Soda, but there's a company here who's out at the back that's got a stand. They're called Soda. Their company, apart from the 2 original founders, is all built on Summer of Tech interns. And I understand quite a few of them come from Whitireia. So there are companies that are doing a really awesome job at this. I'd like to challenge you, if you're a business owner or a manager or a CEO like me, to really give it a go. So we're looking this year to try and beat 300. We already have 1,000 students registered on the website who are keen to be out there. So we're just starting to go through the bootcamp process. My next slide is just, you won't be able to read it, it's too small. But this is just an idea of the boot camps that we run. So 49 topics are up here on the wall. We'll run these multiple times. Now, a really interesting thing is the teachers or the lecturers are business people who give up their time. So each year there's probably 150 business people who give up their time to say, actually, I don't think the universities are providing this skill. I need it in my business, so I'm going to teach it to a number of students who are keen. So these are some of the subjects that we do. If you in the audience have a subject that you think the students need to learn and that they should be coming out with it, come and talk to us, because we can help you connect with those students because they'll be interested in learning those skills. All right. So it does come to a question that maybe you might ask me. I hope there's going to be some questions. But why aren't the universities doing more? And I'd like to see more of the tertiaries doing more of the topics that we do. But we don't mind that because it gives us an excuse to get to know the students out there and show them the skills and get industry involved. So really we're talking about an industry and tertiary partnership going on here. All right. Amazing boot camps that do. And like I said, I have to thank any of the volunteers that give up their time to teach some of these subjects. Most of these happen at Victoria University, supply the environment, the rooms, the labs for us to use in the evenings to do them. So I really appreciate Victoria's help for that. So go back to TechRon for a minute. I passionate about interns, passionate about that stuff, but on the side of it, if I put my hat back on about TechRon, this is a really good way to grow my business from inside, where I don't have a huge amount of money to be able to bring in really senior people. But I also, when I joined the company, there were 2 females in TechRon, and none of them were in technical roles, and none of them were in sales roles. And we are now at 7, and on the 7th of August, we'll have 8 women in the company. This has been a great way to get diversity in the organisation. And it would be really hard. I want to tell you that it's not easy. You don't just go out into looking for interns and you're going to find women. There are only 30% of women in our universities studying these degrees, and some of them in much less. In the session before, there was a lady who said that she was the only one in some of her engineering papers. So we know that they're not coming through the universities. What I can tell you is at Summer of Tech level, they're going into internships faster than they're going into the university. So businesses are pulling them out quicker, and that's really great to hear. But the 23% females in our industry is appalling, and I'm really depressed about that number. And so what we can do to get 23% as a forgotten number, we never talk about it again, and bring more women in, it can only be a good thing. So I see this as a way to bring women into the business, and I also see it as a way to change the makeup of the people that work. As you can imagine, a hardware company like ours, most of my hardware engineers are much older men, and so to bring young women, to bring young people into that team has really changed the way they view mentoring. It hasn't always worked. So I can tell you that we actually bombed on this 2 years ago. We hired in an intern into the hardware team. He was an amazing intern, was very, very clever. We set him a project, but we didn't coach and mentor him. He was left to his own devices, and he failed at a project. The team were the first to say, actually, you know what? It was his fault. He wasn't any good at it. After he left his internship, the 3 months, they went to the project and picked it up, and guess what? They couldn't fix it themselves. And it was a real eye-opener for my team to say, hang on a minute, we've just criticised this intern for not being able to do something that we can't do ourselves. And so we sat down and said, we need to change the way we take young people into the organisation. We need to mentor them. We need to support them. And one of my young support engineers, 4 years out of university himself, stuck his hand up and said, I'm going to meet with them every single week that they're here, and I'm going to ask them how they're going, and I'm going to look after their welfare and make sure that they're not getting stuck and don't know how to ask. And we've really changed in the last 2 years around how we do that mentoring. And it's been a really amazing culture change of the team. And it's actually changed the whole way we talk to each other and the teaming way we do it. So it's been a real great change for us. So I'm going to just finish off the last bit to just say Summer of Tech exists. You can register online, my quote. But I'd love to hear if you've got questions for me on TechRon, what we do around internships, etc. I'd love to hear what you think. What? You left the mic up here. Would you like me to get you the mic?
Okay. Oh, am I?
There are some square mics, are there, the blue square mics around?
No, I don't think
they're not. Okay.
I'm running.
Well, I could come down too. I can get off the stage. Do you really want me on the stage? Well, anyway, yes.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic to hear some people making a positive effort to help our young people internally to get skills and qualifications, because when you look through the ads on TradeMe, it's all must have 2 years experience, etc. However, what you're talking about sounds to me like a very university-focused sort of effort for people who have degrees and the rest. What initiatives are there for students who perhaps only go to polytechs and the like?
Okay, so the Summer of Tech programme doesn't matter what tertiary institution you're at, whether it's Vitaria, Welltech, or whatever it is around the country. So that's what Summer of Tech does. I was talking yesterday about the Innovative Young Minds programme. That's an internship programme for young women, young girls at school. You have to forgive me with the age, because when you get to my age, everybody looks really young. And I was talking to a group of 50 young ladies yesterday about networking before they went to the Beehive. So there's lots and lots of programs around. And I'm a true believer that I, as a CEO, have to get off my butt to go find the students that we need to do. We can't wait for the CVs to come in because it won't happen. We have to go out and find it. And I know Victoria does an awesome job of going out and being in the community and talking to the community and being a face for the company. That's something I do. So I know a number of programs for internships that exist, and I'm mostly connected to Summer of Tech because it's tech, and it's mostly to do with any tertiary. So as long as you're studying in New Zealand, and in fact you don't even have to be at a tertiary, as long as you're studying something tech in New Zealand, you can get into the program. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. My company uses Summer of Tech to recruit interns every year, and it's a really great program. One of the things that I think, so thank you, yeah. One of the things that we've found is that we're not a huge company, so we're sort of creating this conveyor belt of talent, and we kind of people in and try to grow them over time. But that's quite a slow process. It takes a lot of investment. I'm wondering if you've had any insights or experience with just addressing the issue of, I mean, obviously you can go out and pay for highly skilled, technical people, but they're really expensive. So I just kind of wonder if you've had any insights or thoughts around that problem. Like, how do we kind of also, how do you address like the issue of seniority and experience, and also maybe people coming back into the workforce or out of training? We've only really sort of seemed to have found younger people and recent graduates.
Yes. Yeah, look, and I'm a bit cash-strapped in Tech One, so I've got to rely on the internships rather than the senior people. Also, hardware engineers are impossible to find in Wellington. Everyone says to me, well, if you move yourself to Christchurch or to Auckland, you'll find hardware engineers. They're just impossible to find. So there's just a small group of hardware engineers. And so what I think I'm going to answer your question. One of the things that we've tried to do is to change our hardware engineers to be more open to a diverse culture and a diverse team environment and sharing their skills. Because when I came into TechCon 2 years ago, there was very much this methodology of I know my stuff and I'm not going to share that with anybody because that's my expertise, and I've been doing this for 20 years. So part of it was about culture of saying, well, actually, we need to get rid of this hub-spoke type culture and share in teams, etc. And accept that people are going to come and go, and try and stay in touch with them. So what we've done also is we've got a program of staying in touch with all the people that have come into TechCon, and we've encouraged them to leave. So there's none of this great managers keep their staff, because that all sounds like holding onto their legs as they run out the door. And staying in touch so they'll come back and work for us and creating a cool culture for it. But I'm like you, yes, you've got a little bit of a conveyor belt, but from the grand NZ Inc. perspective, that's far better than us having these students serving coffee in cafes over summer.
Can I just make a plug for the Return to IT program?
Yes. Yeah, please.
Which we piloted this year. It was a cross-government, cross-industry initiative. So for any of you as employers who are looking to bring people back into the workforce who have taken a break for whatever reason, often women who have taken time off to have children, join up to Return to IT. It's got a whole lot of stuff to help you as an employer and also help you find candidates who are looking to come back into the workforce.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm holding the mic. We've stunned them into silence now.
Oh, have I? Oh, I didn't mean to stun you all into silence. Perhaps I wasn't entertaining enough. Oh, there's a question here.
There's one at the front.
Yes, at last, a question. Hello.
We have to wait for the mic.
No, I do the mic. Don't throw your voice.
I'm a student at the Waikato Uni in Tauranga.
Yes.
And I'm on my third year. So it's really interesting. I'd like, it should be pointed out too with Summer of Tech internships that even if they don't get the jobs, the CV reference is so important.
Yes.
They're not going to get jobs without experience. So having that on there is real important. When were the boot camps that you brought up?
Yes.
Do you hold them in Tauranga or are they just Wellington?
No, so we have had 3 employers in Tauranga get into the program, so it's just not enough yet to offer the boot camps there yet. So not there yet. We'd love to be there. We just need a few more employers in Tauranga to take part, and then it will that will grow enough of work to get us up there. Because Summer of Tech's a charity, we don't have that investment to kind of grow those offices before they happen. But we've definitely had some employers in Tauranga. So we can get some more, help us out. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else got a question?
Mary on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
This is good workout for me today.
I'd say too. I'm walking with you, Victoria. I'm with you. I'm in spirit here. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Amanda. Oh, I can just say that I've worked for Amanda quite a while ago now, and she is very encouraging and mentoring. And so if you are lucky enough to be an intern with her, I'm sure you'll actually do really well. I was just going to ask around the question of valuing interns, and obviously they get paid, but they're also doing very highly skillful work, but they're sort of training at the same time.
Yep.
How do you make sure that they're valued? So even though they are perhaps lower in skill, they've still got a lot of gifts that they're bringing. So what do you put in place, or what do you recommend that employers put in place to value the interns?
So firstly, Mary, we pay all our interns, and Summer of Tech sets a minimum of $20 an hour, and most companies pay around $25 to $30 an hour for the interns. So they're always paid. I don't believe in internships that are unpaid. I don't think that's the way to go. That's not how it is. So I believe that we have to pay them skills, and we pay that balance of that rate per hour so that they can be respected for their skills. I wouldn't want my staff to be thinking that they were free. And we do that because I think it's really valuable. And they really do add value. I mean, I really absolutely, hand on heart tell you that the two ladies that we have in our team are adding significant value in all sorts of ways, not just in the skills they bring, but I mean, we use Slack now because, we had to get into the 21st century, as people said to me. They come in and they have a totally different view of the things that we can do as an employer. And they also get us to think quite differently about the culture that we have. So I think it's amazing because they challenge us to think differently. And sometimes they've got great ideas and sometimes they don't. So I think it's that they're heard. Another thing that we do at TechOne, diversity is really important to me, and it's not just female diversity. There's diversity across all sorts of ethnicities, etc. I'd love to see more Maori and Pacifica students, and they're just not seeing them coming through university. But one of the things that we've done at TechOne is we have something called an Oddacam, which is one thing you don't know about me. And it's Amanda's version of taking the Maori culture of the mountain. I have a mountain and I have a river, and it's my application to the modern world, which is that each week one of the staff stands up and tells us one thing we didn't know about them. And we kind of started off as a bit enough, just stand up for 5 minutes at the morning tea. We have morning tea, by the way, every day at 10 o'clock. We all stop and have a cup of coffee together. And we started that off a bit unofficially. Well, now it's turned into, we've got harmonica players. I've got an employee that worked for the army in Colombia, and he showed us all the photos of him all dressed up with all the gear going into the jungle. We've had a really amazing learning about our own team. And that's helped change people's perceptions of the value that we all bring, so that we don't say you're the intern or you're the senior person. It feels very much like we're all the same and we've all got an amazing story to tell. So I'd give some advice. If you want to build diversity in your teams, that's a good way to do it.
Am I mic'd up? We've got time for one more question, and then we'll have to draw it to a close because everyone will want to go to lunch.
Yep. Hello.
Hi. So there's a cutover point where you're starting to get value. It takes time for these people to embed into the organisation, to learn your business and your people,
yes.
and to learn skills. So what's your thoughts about how short an internship can be, and how do you accelerate the time to value?
Yep. So when we go into it, firstly, because we try to get funding from Callaghan, because there's funding available to organisations to take on intern students, we make sure that at the very beginning, before we start, we write down what we want to achieve in those 3 months, and we make it as much of a specific piece of work that we will try and find the time. And I think if we didn't do that planning up front, we would probably suffer a lot more with those kind of problems. So I think you plan up front, what am I going to do with having this extra person in the team for 3 months, and try and scope that out. And if you can go for Callaghan funding, go for Callaghan funding if you can, because it funds up to 80% of the costs. And so you put that, if you're doing that, putting that funding application, you then define what it is you want them to do, and then that creates the whole scope around it. Then you assign a mentor to them. That's really, really important, and so they know the common goals and they're working together on it, and they can either be left alone to do it, or they can work jointly together. We often do a project that they're left alone to do, but they're mentored, so they have someone every day that works with them, and then on top of that, we have this extra staff member that does the meeting once a week on a Monday to say how's things going, to deal with the sort of the care part, because a lot of students don't know what it's like to work in a work environment. They don't know the norms, the cultural norms of what to do. So I hope that helps.